We now know the Buffalo Bills 2020 NFL draft class. We now know the Buffalo Bills 2020 NFL schedule. One thing we don't know is how big of a run can the Bills make this season. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this Could It Happen Buffalo Sports edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a look at a topic in Buffalo sports and we ask ourselves, could it happen? Before we do that, however, guys, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills news. Also, after you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. YouTube will notify you when we put out new content. Also, while you're here, hit that thumbs up button, like this video, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think, could it happen? Could the Buffalo Bills make it and win Super Bowl 55? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. We're going to give you some reasons why they could win Super Bowl 55. We're going to give some reasons why maybe they're not quite that ready yet to win Super Bowl 55. And then I'll give you my chance that the Buffalo Bills do end up winning Super Bowl 55. So first, why could they win Super Bowl 55? Obviously, I think some of these answers are pretty reasonable. You talk about the addition of Stefon Diggs, right? A really great wide receiver. If he can prove to be an elite number one type wide receiver, he hasn't proven that yet, in my opinion. He has not proven that he can be an elite number one. Last year, his time in Minnesota, he was beside Adam Thielen. He showed some great potential, right? If you look at some of his statistics against contested balls, you look at some of his statistics for the long ball, you know how good Stefon Diggs can be. The question is, will he be that good for the Buffalo Bills? So, reason number one why the Buffalo Bills could potentially win the Super Bowl this coming season is because their offense slowly beginning to match what their defense can do, what we know their defense can do. If you take a look at the Buffalo Bills offense, we all know this. In fact, Coach McDermott recently admitted to this. This offense is going to need Josh Allen to step up. Josh Allen's going to have to be in control of this offense at all times. Now, that doesn't mean we can't still be a run-first type ball club, right? We know that teams can win Super Bowls with a run-first mentality. In fact, I think New England's one of those teams that's had a run-first mentality for a long time, and we all know about their success. Now, if you take a look at last year's Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, they just had an explosive offense, not the greatest defense, but they had an explosive offense, and they said, hey, if you want to beat us, you have to put up 35 points if it's just to be in contention. You remember that Houston Texans game they played where Houston got off to a hot start in the first quarter, and then they weren't even in the lead at halftime. It was pretty insane to see what happened there. So what can the Buffalo Bills do against teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, against teams like the Baltimore Ravens, against teams like maybe the Indianapolis Colts, maybe the Houston Texans, who we lost to in the 2019-2020 NFL wildcard round when we had a 16-0 lead? We saw that slowly disintegrate, and then we ended up losing that game in overtime. So what can we do to beat these teams that, again, look like they're going to be the cream of the crop, top of their divisions, right? We still can throw the Steelers in there once they get Big Ben back. There's still some teams out there that the Buffalo Bills are going to have to contest with, and I think it starts with the offensive side of the ball. We know what this defense can do, okay? We know this defense can be a top 5 defense, and we expect them to be a top 5 defense again this season. However, if we want to talk about Super Bowl thoughts, if we want to talk about Super Bowl wishes, we have to start with the offense, because the offense has to improve. Under Brian Daboll, the last 3 seasons, this offense is not ranked above 22nd in the NFL. That's a problem if you want to be a serious playoff contender and make your way to the Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills were ranked either last or second to last in yards per game entering the playoffs. Of all the teams in the playoffs, they were, I believe, second to last of all those teams in yards per game. We need to improve on that. And yes, Stefon Diggs helps that. Zach Moss will help that, right? You talk about some offensive weapons. Maybe Gabriel Davis will help that. Some of the draft picks that the Buffalo Bills picked up. And we can talk about the NFL draft, right? You pick up an edge rusher. We knew that we needed to get youth at the edge rush position, but we also need to be able to get pressure on the quarterback consistently, something that the Buffalo Bills defense struggled with. That's another key to the Buffalo Bills being able to win an NFL championship, to be able to win that Super Bowl, is they have to continue to get continued pressure on the quarterback. They have to win those turnover battles, right? Their turnover differential in 2019 wasn't where we wanted it to be. 2020 is a completely different year. We get pressure on the quarterback, might force some fumbles. We saw AJ Epeneza's numbers with forcing fumbles. You're talking about 6 forced fumbles in the last 2 seasons at Iowa. If he can force some fumbles in the backfield, Buffalo Bills can jump on those, create better field position for this offense that really hasn't been clicking as of yet, who has a new weapon in Stephon Diggs. Then maybe we get some extra points on the board. We just heard Coach McDermott say, I wish we could get about 28 points per game, maybe 35. Those are the numbers you're looking at, because again, if you look at Kansas City, they're saying, hey, if you want to beat us, I don't care how good your defense is, you have to put up 35 points per game. We just saw in Super Bowl 54 what they did against a really good defense in the San Francisco 49ers. The Buffalo Bills need to do better on defense, and we need to be able to score more points on offense. Now, obviously, everything can change, right? Talking about injuries, talking about maybe with everything going on with this pandemic, the NFL has a shortened season, so obviously that would change things. Everything is up in the air and everything can change, but if you're looking at what the Buffalo Bills need to do to have a chance to win the Super Bowl, then you have to take a look, first of all, at that offense, right? Create plays with your new acquisitions. We're talking about Stephon Diggs, of course, creating plays, even if they're screen passes, lots of yards after catches. You talk about that deep ball, taking the top off a defense. Stephon Diggs can definitely do both of those things, helps Josh Allen's completion percentage, and maybe gives Josh Allen a quicker 3-5 step drop, gives him a different place to look. But that doesn't mean we can afford to lose the production that we got from John Brown last season. Not even a little bit, or Cole Beasley. We need those guys to stay as consistent as they were last season. You want to talk about another key to this offense? Dawson Knox. How does Dawson Knox grow in his second year as probably the main tight end for the Buffalo Bills? Now, Tyler Kroft is going to be back. Hopefully he stays healthy, but you just never know. And Dawson Knox did enough to prove last season he can be a starting tight end in the NFL. So how does he step up, right? We saw a few big drops last season during the regular season, but he then made up for them with some pretty big plays. So if he can, get rid of the drops and then still create those big plays, maybe be that that forgotten target for the Buffalo Bills offense when you talk about all the wide receivers that the Buffalo Bills now have. I think Dawson Knox might have a big year for the Buffalo Bills, and he might need to for the Buffalo Bills to have a shot at the Super Bowl. And then you take a look at that backfield, right? Buffalo Bills just signed Zach Moss. I think that's a great draft pick in the 3rd round, a great compliment to Devin Singletary. Now, there are reports that after the combine, Zach Moss actually was able to cut some seconds or some milliseconds, tenths of a second off of his 40 time. If that's true, then I really look forward to seeing this combination. Zach Moss now maybe having that breakaway speed that we are looking for that we don't really get out of Devin Singletary. And another good thing about this offense, five offensive linemen who have been there for at least a season now, right? Last year we had 4 new offensive linemen out of 5, and so it took them some time to get their act together. I think with 5 offensive linemen all coming back, all used to the system, all knowing what each other likes to do, being able to communicate a little better with each other, knowing Josh Allen's strengths and weaknesses as he's back there in the pocket, knowing where he likes to run when he's in trouble, knowing where he likes to look, things of that nature. I think that goes a huge way in a quarterback offensive line relationship that's only going to help this team get better and get maybe to where they want to end up. Obviously, we know it starts with winning your division, right? Winning your division is a key factor before you can talk about winning a playoff game or even winning a Super Bowl. And I think that the Buffalo Bills need to focus on that. They need to focus on winning their division, get a home playoff game or 2, and then we can see what happens. Listen, no team wants to come to Buffalo in December, in January, to play the Buffalo Bills in a playoff game. The fans in Buffalo, Bills Mafia, they will be going absolutely berserk to see that, and I think that a lot of Bills players will get an edge off of that, right? They'll feed off of that fan reaction. So If the Buffalo Bills want to win a Super Bowl, it all starts with Josh Allen. Coach McDermott talked about that. I think it starts with his completion percentage, right? Move that completion percentage up to about 68%. That'd be amazing. Maybe even a little lower, 65%. We'll take it, right? Less fumbles, right? Be able to hold on to that ball. Now, that might help. They won't be running the ball as much with Stefon Diggs, with that wide receiving core, but he needs to be able to hold on to that ball. Even if he's under pressure in the pocket, you need to be able to hold on to that ball. It doesn't help a defense we saw what happened with Tampa Bay, right? With Jameis Winston. It does not help a defense if you consistently turn the ball over. So it all starts with Josh Allen. Can he improve his completion percentage? Can he improve those fumble numbers? Keep a hold of that ball. If those things can happen, then the Buffalo Bills have a shot, right? The Buffalo Bills have a shot in the playoffs. Let's be honest. The first step is winning your division. Once you win your division, everything's up for grabs. You're 0-0 when you went to the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you're a 1 seed or now a 7 seed. It doesn't matter. If you get hot at the right time, you can make a playoff run. The second biggest key, I believe, other than Josh Allen, is that continuity at that offensive line, right? We talk about how you win and lose games on the line of scrimmage, right? So now this offensive line has some continuity, still have some pretty decent depth in the offensive line that will really help out if there are some injuries, if we have to substitute some people in, if we have to rotate forward down into guard and maybe bring Inseki or someone into the tackle position to help him out. If any of those circumstances come up, we have that continuity, we have that depth that will really help this Buffalo Bills team maybe not miss a step if someone is to go down. Now, again, another key to victory, that wide receiving core. Right now, we know the top three, right? We know Stefon Diggs. He needs to have a big year. He needs to prove that he can be a number one wide receiver. The reason why we haven't heard about a contract extension or at least a new contract for Stefon Diggs is because the Buffalo Bills, Coach McDermott, Brandon Beane, they want to see him prove it. Right? They want to see him prove it this year. Go out there and be the wide receiver you were in Minnesota, here in Buffalo. So many times we see a wide receiver go from one team to another, and he's not quite the same player. When Peerless Price was with the Buffalo Bills with Eric Moulds, he was an excellent number 2 wide receiver. He goes to Atlanta, he becomes the number 1, and he just doesn't have the same effect for the Atlanta Falcons they did with the Buffalo Bills. And that's no fault of his own. They didn't have the greatest number 2 in Atlanta at the time, so teams focused on him. You were then going up against the team's number 1 corner instead of their number 2 corner, and that makes a big difference, right? If you wanted to go up against Tre'Davious White or, let's say, Josh Norman, who would you want to go up against, right? You want to go up against Josh Norman because you know that with the age a little bit, we've seen him struggle at times, especially with Washington. You might be able to get one by him. So obviously there's a little bit of a difference there, but we've seen those numbers change from one season, from one team to the next. So Stefon Diggs needs to prove why he was traded for and what he can do now that he is the number 1 overall wide receiver for a team. There's no questions about it. John Brown and Cole Beasley need to have the same type of impact they had last season. John Brown can go long at times. John Brown can do those out routes, those in routes. He's really good at those. Cole Beasley, just find a way to get open, right? Do those cut routes, those Z routes that you run sometimes. Get yourself open for those short gainers. And then when Josh Allen creates time, go downfield and see if you create something down the field. Then look at Gabe Davis, right? You want your draft picks to make an impact immediately, and that includes Gabriel Davis, our 4th round pick out of UCF. I think that he wants to have a decent year as our number 4 wide receiver. I think that the team is set to have Gab Davis come in at number 4, and I think he might be able to surprise some people because, again, you have so many weapons. Didn't even talk about Dawson Knox as a weapon, but you have so many weapons you have to cover. Maybe Gabriel Davis is the one guy that defenses kind of forget about because he's unproven. So maybe Gabe Davis needs to come out and be strong, especially early on, so that way teams need to account for him and then spread out that defense just a little bit more. My next key is going to be getting pressure on the quarterback, on the opposing quarterback. So I'm looking at defensive ends. I'm looking at Jerry Hughes. I'm looking at Trent Murphy. I'm looking at AJ Epineza. I'm looking at some of the guys we signed in free agency. Those are the guys I'm looking at get consistent pressure on quarterback. I want to see 3, 4, maybe even 5 sacks a game by this Buffalo Bills defensive line. Ed Oliver, Star Latuele, Harrison Phillips coming back. I want to see them continue to get pressure on the quarterback, because what happens when you get pressure on the quarterback consistently? They make mistakes. So get pressure on the quarterback, and let them make mistakes, and then the Buffalo Bills can capitalize on those mistakes, hopefully scoring more points and creating bigger margins of victory, giving these linebackers and these corners a chance to kind of pin their ears back a little bit and go after it. Go after the ball. Get some more interceptions. Go after the quarterback. Get some more sacks. Maybe even force some strip sacks as well. I think getting pressure on the quarterback is going to be a big key if the Buffalo Bills want to consider making a Super Bowl run. The next key to a Super Bowl run is defending your home turf. I've talked about on my live stream, I've talked about in some of my scheduling videos, the last 2 seasons, the Buffalo Bills have finished 4-4 at home. We need to do better. That's just the bottom line. Sean McDermott's first year as coach of the Buffalo Bills, we go 6-2. The next 2 seasons, we go 4-4 each year. That's not good enough. You need to prove to other teams that when they come to Buffalo, they better be fearful. They better know that they're coming in for a fight, because the Buffalo Bills will not back down. That includes the Kansas City Chiefs. That includes the Seattle Seahawks. Guys, let me tell you something about the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2019. Entering the 2019 NFL season, where was their strength of schedule? That's right, it was 5th hardest in the league. Where did the Bills sit on strength of schedule entering the 2020 season? 5th hardest in the league. I don't want to hear about how tough their schedule is. I actually think a tough schedule, if you want to make a Super Bowl run, is a good thing. Do you know why? Because it prepares you for the playoffs. We're going to play a lot of the teams during the regular season that we're going to see in the playoffs. And although we might not win all those games in the regular season, we'll have our chance for a payback in the postseason, right? I believe the Houston Texans actually beat the Kansas City Chiefs when they played in the regular season. So these things, and then what happened in the postseason? Well, not the same thing. It looked like it might be for a little bit, but then Kansas City said, no, we're going to win this game. So things can be different in the postseason compared to the regular season. We're going to play a lot of playoff teams in the regular season. Let's use that to our advantage and learn from it. Win or loss, learn from it and use it when we do make the postseason to our advantage to hopefully have a good run, a good chance to make the playoffs. Again, a home playoff game or 2 would never hurt. Be in Buffalo, get some of that home cooking. We would have a really good time. And Trey White, these cornerbacks, they need to keep the pressure up, right? They can have a fallback here. Hopefully, the injury bug stays away from us, stays away from Buffalo Bills. Had a lot of injuries on the offensive line last season. Hopefully, those don't creep up on us again. Would love to see the Buffalo Bills stay pretty much, free of injury-free, and we can make one of those runs. Because one of the big things about making a big Super Bowl run is staying healthy, right? You see healthy teams all the time making those unexpected runs. And the Buffalo Bills right now, Vegas has them somewhere between plus 2,500 and plus 2,800. So that means you lay down $100. If the Bills do win the Super Bowl, you win $2,500. So pretty good odds if you are a Buffalo Bills fan to go in there and place some bets. I think they're about the 11th or 12th team as far as the odds go in Vegas. That's where they're ranked. So they're not expected to win the Super Bowl. And why not? Why is that? What do the Buffalo Bills still lack that will give them that extra edge to make a playoff push, to make a Super Bowl push, I should say? And the first thing is playoff experience. Right now, the Sean McDermott and this Buffalo Bills squad's 0-2 in playoff games, and Josh Allen himself is 0-1. So you can have a little playoff success, but who knows how far that success is going to go before it runs out, right? When you talk about some of these other teams, the Steelers, now the Chiefs, some of these teams that have playoff experience that might be better than you or might know how to game plan a little bit better in the playoffs than you do, since you don't have that playoff experience. So that really hurts us when it comes time for the Buffalo Bills to make a Super Bowl run. Another thing that hurts the Buffalo Bills is the flat-out reputation of the New England Patriots, right? We still will play the New England Patriots twice a year just because Tom Brady isn't there. They still got Bill Belichick, and now I know that their armor is off of them, but they're still the New England Patriots. You still have to beat them. The Bills have to prove that they can beat them this season, and I want them to win both games, both the game in Buffalo Week 8 and the game in Foxborough in Week 16. I really believe that the Buffalo Bills have a good shot to do that, and that's another thing that might hurt though the Buffalo Bills is their schedule overall. Like I said, the Buffalo Bills have the fifth worst strength of schedule going into the NFL season. They have a lot of traveling to do, right? You're talking about traveling to Las Vegas. You're talking about traveling to Los Angeles. You're talking about traveling in San Francisco. You're talking about traveling to Arizona. Lots of travel going on for the Buffalo Bills this season, so that might come into effect come January. They might start getting tired, and then all of a sudden the team's going to pounce on them. So I think not only would it be important to get a few playoff games, get a few playoff games at home, so that way you can rest those legs, and you finish the season off at home Week 17, get that extra week's rest at home, and then be ready for the playoff run, because you're going to need it if you want to make a Super Bowl run. So guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you think? Do the Bills have a shot to make it to Super Bowl 55 and win Super Bowl 55? Again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you think. I think the Bills have a shot. I think if you're a betting man, which I am, bet on them, right? Plus 25, plus 28. Are you kidding me? I'm taking it every day of the week. And then I would put their percent chance somewhere between 5 and 10% to win the Super Bowl. I did a video last season saying that Buffalo Sports will win 2 championships in the next 10 years. The Bills are close. If they're not there, they're close. Again, thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.